Hello, I'm Cindy Johnson with the Grand Island Area Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for joining us today. As you can imagine, the Grand Island Chamber of Commerce, along with our economic development partners, including the EDC, Economic Development Corporation, and the Convention and Visitors Bureau, have been receiving a ton of calls and questions about what their companies, what their business partners should be doing in the situation that we're under now with COVID-19. First of all, we are not your advisors in this area. We strongly recommend that you speak to your accountants, your individuals who are very familiar with your financial situation, the company's status, and give consideration to what your business will look like when we come through the COVID-19 pandemic. But because we've been receiving so many questions, we thought it prudent to gather a group of individuals to help answer or to allay some of your questions and concerns about what your business can and should be doing during this time in order to come out on the other side of the virus in good condition, in good shape, and ready to once again be the premier business that you are in our Grand Island community. We know that the Central District Health Department and our medical community are doing a fabulous job with providing information on the virus itself and ways to avoid becoming infected with the virus. We know that the Heartland United Way and the Greater Grand Island Community Foundation are doing an equally excellent job with providing resources to those that are directly impacted. So this session today really does touch on those areas that businesses are concerned about, whether it's something through our Department of Labor. You'll be hearing from Randy Kissinger about short-time compensation, unemployment, and the Family Medical Leave Act, or whether it's about loans, forgivable, low interest, that may be coming through the Small Business Administration, and you'll hear from Sarah Bennett on those issues. But first and foremost, we want to talk a little bit about what's happening in the federal government right now. Last night, the Senate passed a bill, and remember this now will have to go to the House and then get the president's signature about it's called the CARES Act. So it's another one of 3 different phases of assistance available for businesses and individuals that our federal government is looking at. So today the bill will be considered, hopefully, by the House of Representatives and then be headed to the President of the United States for signature. And this bill provides assistance for businesses, eligible businesses. Now, we are not going to go into detail on the bill other than to tell you that there are numerous provisions and there are numerous caveats. So we encourage you to contact the Chamber office. We will provide you with a summary of that bill, as you'll be seeing here in the next couple of slides. And then again, please visit about the provisions in this bill, along with the others that you're going to hear about later today, with your accountant or your financial group to find out which product or service that's being offered meets your objectives the best. So there are loans available for eligible businesses. There are loans available through the SBA that are called the Paycheck Protection Program, You'll want to take a look at that. It differs from the SBA program that was adopted earlier this week. Then there are some tax provisions, and again, talk to your tax professional about what this would mean for your business. There are some items in the bill that has passed the Senate that would be very beneficial to some of our companies who are really struggling to keep the doors open now with the hope that there would be a tax credit down the road. Our businesses need help today. They need the ability to make payroll today. They need the ability to keep in operation today. So I think we've seen from the Senate at least the recognition that the assistance that's required to keep the economy moving is needed now rather than as a tax credit sometime down the road. Again, some additional tax provisions. And with that, I will thank you for your attention this morning and turn the microphone over to our mayor, Mayor Roger Steele.
Good morning. I am Roger Steele. I am the mayor of Grand Island, and I would like to thank Cindy Johnson, the president of the Chamber of Commerce, for putting this program together. I want to thank Jeremy Watson, our city IT person, who is handling all the technical aspects of this presentation. We're here today to present information that may be of interest to the business community and employees, and our speakers have been selected because they have information that you will find valuable. As the mayor, I want to talk about some things that I have done, and my core responsibility is to make sure that the city remains operational throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, I've done three things. I closed the field house, as many of you may know, and I closed the library. The reason I did that is because the best advice we're getting, both federally and from Governor Ricketts, is that we should not have groups of more than 10 people in any one place. Well, obviously, with venues like the field house and the library, that presented a problem, and we did not want those buildings to become a place where people might catch the coronavirus. The other thing I did as mayor is I ordered that City Hall would remain closed to the public. Now, please understand, City Hall is fully operational, and that is our intent throughout the course of the coronavirus pandemic. Again, we wanted to limit social gathering, so even though I have closed the doors of City Hall, you can easily access City Hall by looking at our web page for important phone numbers, and those telephone numbers and contact information is also posted on the front doors of City Hall. So do not assume that City Hall is closed operationally. It is not. It is fully functioning operationally. And as I've told people when I've spoken on other occasions, it is the city's obligation to always remain operational in times of distress, and this is one of those times. I understand that the people of Grand Island are probably fearful that this time could present economic loss or job loss or difficulty for them financially. I understand that fully, and all I can ask of each and every one of you is to remember we will get past this, but our success depends on you, each and every one of you. We will be successful when we slow and then stop the spread of the coronavirus. Governor Pete Ricketts has done an excellent job of telling all of us what we should do in our effort to stop the coronavirus. And I just want to remind everybody, these are simple steps, but we should be reminded and we should obey Governor Ricketts' directive. We should wash our hands regularly. That is not too great of a sacrifice for any of us to make. We should practice social distancing. Stay at least 6 feet apart from any other person. You can greet that other person verbally. You do not have to be rude, but you should avoid shaking hands until we know we have stopped the coronavirus. We should disinfect counters and places where people constantly or often have contact. And as I stated earlier, we should avoid social gathering of more than 10 people in one place. And that is why I have asked restaurants and bars to limit their service to takeout, curbside delivery, rather than having people inside their restaurants. And I want to say, our business community has responded helpfully with this guidance from the governor. And I want to commend them for that, because they are leading the way in showing us how to stop the coronavirus. Lastly, I would remind everybody, if you feel you have symptoms of coronavirus, stay home and call your health care provider so that person can direct you to a screening. It really doesn't benefit if you go to the emergency room, because there you may just jeopardize other people by spreading the coronavirus. So here at City Hall, all of our efforts have been aimed at delivering the core functions of city government. In fact, all of our efforts have been aimed at protecting those core functions so that you will not see a loss of service. When I talk about the core functions of city government, I'm talking about things like water and electricity, sewer, solid waste removal, the maintenance of streets, and obviously the delivery of police protection and fire protection. So, our goal at City Hall is to work with all the citizens of Grand Island to stop the spread of the coronavirus. Our success depends on you. Now, I would like to introduce the City of Grand Island's Utilities Department Director, Mr. Tim Luxinger. And he's going to talk about efforts he has made to preserve the continuity of the delivery of our core functions of city government. And what he's going to be describing to you is similar to what all other city departments are doing. Again, for whatever inconvenience these measures may present to you as a citizen, please keep in mind that we are doing this to make sure that our core functions of city government remain in place, and that we are always here to deliver our services throughout the coronavirus pandemic. And now it's my pleasure to introduce, as our next speaker, Mr. Tim Luxinger.
Thank you, Mayor Cindy, for inviting me to speak today. I'm going to have to try to resist not touching anything up here, because that's what I normally do, but I wanted to echo what the mayor said, in that I'll share with you some of the things that the Utilities Department is doing, but these things, many of these things are being done by all the departments in the city to make sure that we're able to continue our operations. For instance, the Utilities Department, we not only have closed our facilities to the public, but if you don't work there, we're telling you don't go there. If you have something to do with another division in the Utilities Department, we ask that you try to do by email or phone, or if you need to talk to somebody, you go to the facility and you guys talk outside. We also have a pretty good network of our peers in the state that we communicate with, see what other people are doing. We're trying to do things that we can to see if people can work from home on a regular basis. We're making sure that our critical people have access to the computer network for the Utilities Department in case they need to work from home during an emergency situation. We're looking at trying to make sure that that we have measures in place so that we can continue the operation of our 24-hour services. For instance, we do have a plan for pandemics, and last week when the mayor declared an emergency here in Grand Island, that kicked off our first phase, in which we obtained cots for the power plants. We're looking at personal supplies that people might need to do, because we plan on having people live there until, if in the event that we get a shelter-in-place order from either the governor or from the mayor. We arranged food supplies for people. What we're planning on is having people, say, assigned to the power plants on a 5-day rotation. They'll be living at the power plant, operating there for 5 days, and if they're not working there, they're supposed to be at home under quarantine for 5 days until the teams switch around. Again, we're making sure that people have access to things they need from home if they need it, some of the computer networks. We're going to make sure that people are allowed to take vehicles home, like for the line department, we'll have them taking line trucks home if we get the shelter-in-place type of thing, because we're trying to eliminate the contact between people within our own department if we can. I did want to let businesses and individuals know that we've already received calls from people with good track records as far as paying their bills. They're saying, I'm laid off, or my business is shut down. I got my utility bill, what do I do? And we're trying to tell people, you know, we're not going to do any disconnects here for services as long as this thing goes on. We do want you to call the Utilities Department billings staff there and let them know your situation. Perhaps there's some sort of a prepayment or, you know, a continuing payment plan we can make, or something to do when you get back on your feet. But we want to make sure that people, we're trying to lower the stress level here a little bit. Don't worry about your utilities getting shut off if you can't make a payment at this time. Again, this is some things the Utilities Department is doing, and I know that the police and fire, they also deal with the 24-hour services that we need to provide, and they're looking at ways that they can, you know, eliminate contact between shifts but still keep that 24-hour service. So again, we're trying to do everything we can with the city to make sure you have your services that you depend on. I know Mrs. Luxinger has a good stake in liking to have her electricity and water on, and so I've got a pretty good motivation at home. So I'd hate to have to go live with the power plant for a while. So with that, I'll let Sarah Bennett come up next.
Good morning. My name is Sarah Bennett, and I am with the Nebraska Business Development Center, and we are a program that is part of the University of Nebraska at Omaha. It's our home base, and then we have subcontract centers all across the state, and my office is actually part of the University of Nebraska at Kearney, and I have an office here in Grand Island, so I've been working closely with businesses here in Grand Island for the last 8 years. So thank you to Cindy Johnson, who reached out and asked if I could speak on behalf of our center and then our connection to the U.S. Small Business Administration and the economic injury disaster loan that they have in place right now. So what I'm going to show you, so our website has all of our resources. So on a normal day, what we are doing is we're working with businesses to help them get started, to figure out business plans, what it takes to get started, the steps. We work with folks if they're looking at doing government contracting, and really a whole plethora of services. And all of those mostly are in part or either free or low cost because of our funding through federal agencies such as the U.S. Small Business Administration. Right now, what we're really focused on is business resiliency. How can we help you and those businesses really stay afloat? How do you keep operations going and remain viable after this pandemic passes? On our business resiliency page, it's strictly tied to business resources, and we're updating it continually. As you know, the situation is continually evolving, and we want to make sure that information is relevant to your business. So what we have on here are things related to the state of Nebraska, links to the Department of Labor, and some other pieces that are tied into federal information. So that is out there as well. Other state agencies, such as the Department of Economic Development, they've got things on their page. A lot of information out there, and it's a lot to sort through for sure, but we want to know where you can access those particular resources. So the SBA disaster loan. So a lot of people are asking about this. It's been talked about because it was passed by the president to get this allocation of funding, and then it had to be declared in the state of Nebraska before any businesses could apply. That declaration was put in place last Friday, March 20th, so now Nebraskans can file. So how does that process work? What does it look like? It's effective as of the current date of January 31st of this year, and the last day to file is December 21st, 2020. So you do have some time to apply, but you don't want to wait that long. You probably need funds right now and not likely in December. So this is the website that you should come upon. So it's disasterloan.sba.gov/ELA. And you can apply online. That is the recommended way to apply. But there has been delays related to the online application. As you can imagine, because disasters are impacted across the nation, it's creating delays. Typically, when there is a disaster declaration, it's tied to things such as the flood last year, where it's localized in nature. We in Nebraska saw that flood, but they weren't seeing it across the nation. So SBA in general was not seeing a huge influx in terms of the requests for funding. So what they are recommending at this time, SBA does recommend that you download the paper applications first before you go online, so you can know precisely what they're going to be asking of you. So from this page here, this is where you can access those paper forms and to know what your business is going to need. Again, we highly recommend doing this before you go to the online application page. So if you go in the middle of the day, like I did yesterday, you might get this portal message. They are going maintenance. I think they're continually evolving. How do we best meet the needs of the folks that are applying? How do we make sure these individuals can get to it? So you may see this. So my recommendation is try again, access those paper resources, or try late at night. Last night, I think at 11 o'clock at night, you could access it. But if you try to access it right now, probably not. So just be aware that if you see that screen, that's probably what's going on. So this is kind of a list of some of those paper forms. This is the link here. So disasterloan.sba.gov/ELA/information/paper forms. Up top here is what applies to sole proprietors. So this, again, if you are a sole proprietor, you do not have a separate legal entity for your business, these are the loan forms that are going to apply to you. The lower portion is going to apply to business entities, so corporations, partnerships, limited liability companies. This is where you can find those forms, download them, fill them out. So here's kind of the nuts and bolts of that loan program. So loan amounts, they can loan up to $2 million. The rate is 3.75% for businesses and 2.75% for nonprofits. This is a direct loan from the Small Business Administration. Typically, if you get a Small Business Administration loan, you're going through your local bank. So you might work with Pinnacle Bank, Home Federal, First National Bank, and many of our great lending partners here in town, and you would get an SBA guarantee on that loan. Disaster loans are directly through the Small Business Administration. So what are the uses? So what it is they're paying for helping you to pay your regular business expenses. So up to 6 months. So as you're looking out 6 months from now and you say, okay, what kind of payroll do I have? What rent do I have? What loans am I paying? Kind of calculating on what all those expenses look like. So when you apply, you know what that amount is. So covering again for up to 6 months based off of your past financials. So what did this period look like in 2019? It's also eligible for paying off lines of credit and for bridge loans. What it is not for is lost profits, but it is for covering those expenses that you have coming in the door that you need to pay the bills on. The other really advantageous thing about this loan program is the deferment. So your first payment is deferred for 1 year after that note is signed. So you're not putting one note on top of another and trying to pay that note and your expenses. They're deferring it for 1 year. Other information you want to be aware of: for any loan over $25,000, businesses are required to pledge the collateral they have available, excluding personal real estate. So this is going to tie to your business assets. What do you have available that may not be tied to another bank loan at this time? What SBA is looking at is your repayment ability. So they're going to review 1 year of company history to figure out what can you repay and what's your eligibility for that loan amount. Anything tied to specific loan processing questions, you are advised to call the 1-800 number on your screen here, which is 1-800-659-2955. Again, that's 1-800-659-2955, or send emails to disastercustomerservice@sba.gov. If you have other SBA loans, so for previous SBA disaster loans, there has been a declaration on that, and all previous disaster loans can now be deferred until the end of 2020. If you have an SBA loan with your commercial lender, what you do is you talk to your local banker. They have unilateral authority to defer any of those loan payments on SBA. Ultimately, that decision is still resting with your banker, but they have the opportunity to do that per SBA and SBA's guidelines. So some tips as you're going through this process and applying for the SBA loan. Again, apply during those quiet down times. Maybe you're an early morning person, and when you're having that 5 a.m. coffee, maybe that's the time that you're looking at this SBA loan portal. The other thing is save often. We hear about saving our work. Now is that critical time. Make sure you save often, so if the system does go down, you don't have to re-enter all that information. Make sure that when you go in there, SBA does have 2 different types of disaster loans. What you want to select is economic injury, not the damaged property. Similarly, so applicants must not fill out information about home or personal losses. This is strictly tied to businesses for this disaster declaration. Tax returns will not be required at the time of application, though you will want to have them ready. There's a separate tax release form that you will fill out, but again, you won't have to have that tax return at the time of application, but they will likely ask for it later. Any affiliates and partial owners must be declared in the application. Any additional information related to affiliates or partial owners will be requested later. So up next, you're going to hear from Randy Kissinger, who is with the Nebraska Department of Labor.
Good morning, Mayor. Thank you, and Cindy for allowing us to host and participate in this. My name is Randy Kissinger with the Department of Labor. Our offices are open. We would recommend, if you do have questions, we're seeing people by appointment only, and we would really like you to call. A majority of the questions potentially we can answer over the telephone. We have the opportunity to assist you on our website through the telephone. We have a live chat, and we're also working email. So there's a variety of ways to get to us, and that's our goal. Unemployment insurance is kind of our focus today. Unemployment insurance is a tax paid by the employers to assist their employees in times of need. The Governor Ricketts and Commissioner Albin have worked together to lessen the requirements for the unemployment insurance program at this time. Whether you're eligible or whether you're not eligible, we really cannot determine that until you file. If you have questions, please do that. The goal of the executive order is to allow businesses to maintain their workforce at this time. They've eliminated some work search and some other requirements that make it easier for the employers to maintain their employees. If you have questions about eligibility, you're welcome to call our office. You will have to file online at this time. If you do not have a computer or access to that, please call our office, and we're trying to make arrangements to assist you over the telephone. Our website is anyworks.nebraska.gov, and that is just as it's spelled out. You're welcome to call our office, and we'll get you there. We have 2 specific programs at this time tied to unemployment. If you are in a shutdown where you're not having your employees work any hours, regular unemployment is the goal. They need to go online, they need to file, they need to open a claim. Between March 22nd and May 2nd. Any claims filed during that time, I believe the work search requirement has been eliminated. Your employees will not have to look for work as long as you have a tentative or an approximate date, or yes, you're going to recall them when the pandemic ends. So the work search and some other things have been laxed. Those are for businesses, they're not working any hours, or the employees are not working any hours. We know some businesses have departments that are working full-time, and they have other departments that are not working any. So if you have employees that are not working any hours, regular unemployment would be the goal. They need to get filed as soon as they can. The week is Sunday through Friday. So if they file anytime Sunday through Friday, this is their first week. They must continue filing each week until they return to work. Normal processing for the first payment for individuals is about 21 working days, okay? During this time, it may take a little longer. We appreciate your patience. They're working on that as fast as they can. If they have specific questions, they're welcome to call us about those particular things. The goal is to maintain your workforce. The goal is to maintain your employees and keep you as a viable business. The other program that is available, and I believe Nebraska is one of the few states that have implemented this, it's short-time compensation. It allows your employees who their hours have been deducted from 10 to 60% to continue working and drawing wages, but also to draw some unemployment. This is a great program for those companies that maybe have limited 24 hours from 40, or they're working a 4-day work week instead of 5. There is an application process. They can access that on our website at anyworks.nebraska.gov. The employer has to go in, we will vet them, set up an account. At that time, they make an application for short-time compensation. In the interim, if you have employees who have had reduced hours, please have them file. I cannot tell them if they're going to be eligible, how much they're going to make, and as soon as that is processed, they will get information available to them if they are eligible and how much their weekly benefit is going to be. But if they do not file, there is no backdating. We can't go back to 2 weeks ago. So if they are impacted this week, please have them get there. If you are an employer that has an interest in the short-time compensation, contact our office. If you have an account set up in AnyWorks, we'll show you how to get there. If you do not have an account, we will offer you the opportunity to help you and set that up for you so we can get that. We've received a lot of questions about who is hiring or who might be having some assistance. Our AnyWorks website is not only where you access unemployment insurance, but you as a job seeker can go out there. You can search our website by title, by company, by zip code, and it will show you the companies that are still hiring at this time. So if you have been impacted and you're not going to go back to your employer, file unemployment, get on the website, and it will show you the companies that are hiring. If you are an employee that's been impacted that's going to return to your employer, your work search restrictions have been eliminated and limited, so make sure you file and you get those going. So those are our main 2 programs right now with unemployment insurance. The total shutdown, we're closed, we're going to return to work, regular unemployment. Short-time compensation, we're working reduced hours. Short-time compensation is going to take a little while to get to approved by an employer. Once it's approved, then you can assist your employees doing that as you'll do that as an employer. Biggest thing is, if you've been impacted and you don't know if you're eligible, please file. Federal legislation is changing by the hour. So as we get new rules, as we get new regs, we will get those implemented into our state system. Self-employed individuals, contractors, may or may not have been eligible before. I've been hearing some things at the federal level. Now maybe they're going to expand eligibility. I can't answer that up front, but if you are reduced hours or you're not working at all, go online and file, and then your eligibility will be determined. Okay? A couple things for employers. We've been getting general questions, and I'll answer just a few of the high ones, but if you have questions, contact our office. Individuals cannot file unemployment if you're paying them vacation or sick leave. So if somebody is off for 2 weeks and you're paying them vacation, they can set up their account in AnyWorks, so when they're ready to go, when that vacation ends, then they can file for unemployment. They cannot double dip per se. The unemployment tax comes out of a fee that is charged to employers, so your employees have never contributed to that. It is an employer tax, and that's the benefit to the employees. When should I have them work? What should I have them do? What can I make them do? Should I make them stay? We're all getting those questions. If you contact our office, we'll share what other employers are doing. The Central Nebraska Manufacturing Partnership, which is a tri-city conglomerate, has about 60 to 70 employers in it. There's been a group email going around about what we're doing with our employees. Are we staying? What's our policies, our procedures, et cetera. If you need information, any one of us will direct you to our partners, to our communities, to our organizations, and we'll try and get you the best help we can. Family Medical Leave Act. Hopefully at this time, the individuals will be returning to work as you reopen at the end of the pandemic. Family Medical Leave Act is a law enacted to maintain people's jobs if they have a personal injury or a long-term piece, or they have an individual or a relative. Family Medical Leave Act, some provisions have been changed under the COVID, but the core still exists. They must have worked for you for at least 12 months. They must have worked for you for at least 1,250 hours last year, and you must have 50 employees within a 75-mile radius of your facility to qualify for FMLA. So, benefits, strictly up to you, the employer. Can you afford to pay them? Can you afford to pay their health insurance, et cetera? Normally when you're closed, health insurance is not contributed further. Short-term compensation allows you to do that. You as an employer can contribute as much as you want at any time. Cindy mentioned it, the mayor mentioned it. Contact your financial advisors, contact your accountants. If you have questions on health insurance, contact your health provider. Whoever normally provides your services for a fee that you pay them to provide you those services on an ongoing basis, contact them. If you're a business and you have questions about workman's comp, call your work comp carrier. If you have questions about your health insurance, call your health insurance provider. There, the eligibility. Can they stay at home? There's a variety of things, and like unemployment insurance with FMLA, eligibility, self-employed individuals, the local representatives have done a great job loosening the requirements for unemployment, from the governor to the commissioner. If you have questions, contact our local office, FMLA, et cetera. And remember, things are changing by the hour at the federal level. So if you hear it, it's not going to be enacted that day locally, but if it's coming and there's pending legislation, it will go through the process and we will get those to you as fast as we can. So, thank you. Cindy?
I feel better already just hearing from these individuals who have a wealth of information and are committed to ensuring that our business community remains viable, remains operational, and has the best chance of surviving this very challenging time. I want to thank all of you for taking time out of your day to present this forum for our business and resident community. It's important as we look at the information that was provided today to acknowledge that it was real information provided by real people, people that you know in this community, people that you respect in this community, and it's not just the noise that we hear 24/7 anymore. That noise can be overwhelming, and all of the stress of the noise, all of the stress of the changes can make it difficult for people to take action. And action is what we need to be doing now as the business community to look at what makes the most sense for each of our individual companies as we move forward. So you have the names and the contact information for those individuals who spoke today. If we are not able to answer the question that you have, we will certainly refer you to an individual who can and will. That is critically important to us. This community relies on the businesses that are in our community to remain operational. So as you are making the decisions that you are making today and tomorrow and the day after, I would ask you to make one additional decision. I would ask you to give serious consideration to supporting your local businesses. When you're looking to have a meal, drive up and take a meal home. If you're purchasing an Easter outfit or you're buying your spring lawn equipment, Consider those businesses that are local, that have been here, that are supporting your sports teams, our community initiatives, philanthropic efforts. For years and years, they have been the engine that keeps this community going. And it's our turn now. We have the opportunity to show these businesses how important they are to us. So the staff at the Chamber of Commerce, the Economic Development Corporation, and the Convention and Visitors Bureau have been busy compiling information to share so that you know what businesses are open and what they're offering and how they may be offering their products or services in a different way than they have in the past. Pay attention to those websites and select a business that you can purchase a product or service from that will help the local economy. This virtual shopping on Sunday is another way for you to obtain products and services other than walking into the store and meeting individuals, maybe not staying that 6 foot. So do it from the safety of your home if you're comfortable doing that type of purchasing. Again, support local businesses. Thank you again for being with us. We appreciate the presenters' information, and if you have any questions, be sure and reach out to us. Stay safe.